Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. The listing said newly renovated. Dakota knew what that usually meant. Cheap paint, covered stains, and cracks sealed over just well enough to pass a quick inspection. It was problems dressed up in white and soft lighting until they looked clean. Still, the rent was lower than anything else she'd found within 20 minutes of the hospital. After working 3 12-hour shifts in a row, good enough had started sounding a lot like luxury. By the time she carried the last box into the apartment, her shoulders burned and the back of her scrub top clung damply to her spine. She stood in the middle of the living room, keys still in hand, staring at the place that was supposed to feel like a fresh start. It smelled like paint, but not fresh paint. It was something flatter, chalkier. It felt as if the walls had been scrubbed clean of something and then sealed before it could bleed through. The apartment itself was small but bright. White walls, white trim, pale counters, harsh overhead lights erased every shadow before it could settle. It should have felt airy and open. Instead, it felt staged, as if no one had actually lived there before her. Dakota told herself she was just tired. Tired people imagined moods in rooms. They turned silence into unease. They stood in new kitchens and thought, "This place feels wrong," when they really meant, "I haven't slept enough and my life is in boxes." So she kept moving. She unpacked the coffee maker, the mugs, and the little ceramic tray for her rings and hair ties. Familiar domestic rituals meant to tell her brain, "See? Safe? Home? Yours?" By 9:30, she couldn't stand the sight of taped cardboard anymore. She stripped her bed, gathered a load of laundry, and carried it down the hall to the shared laundry room. The hallway lights buzzed with a thin electrical whine. Her sneakers whispered over the beige carpet. Unit 3B. That was her now. The thought felt strange. At the end of the hall, a door stood ajar beneath the silver sign. Laundry. Dakota nudged it open. The room was brighter than it had any right to be. White tiles and long fluorescent bulbs humming in sterile lines. It looked less like a laundry room and more like a utility closet in a hospital basement. Dakota paused. Something about that comparison made her chest tighten. The air was warm in a way that felt old and used. A sharp detergent smell couldn't quite cover a heavier scent underneath. Dust, heated metal, and something faintly scorched, like lint baked too long against a vent. She set the basket down and reached for the nearest dryer. Before she touched it, she hesitated. The metal door was already warm. Not hot, just warm. Dakota frowned, glancing around. The dryers were off, the washers were dark. There was no sound except the hum of the lights and the thin rattle of the vent. She pulled the door open anyway. It was empty and cleaner than she expected, the drum reflecting the fluorescent glare in blunt, silvery curves. "Okay," she murmured, too tired to care about the mystery of a warm appliance. She loaded the machine on autopilot, nearly washing the clothes she meant to dry. With a breath of annoyance, she corrected the mistake and started the machine. The dryer rumbled awake, filling the room with a deep, rhythmic thump. As she folded a few leftover towels, she tried not to think about the reviews she'd skimmed the night before. Thin walls, slow maintenance, weird smell. A few mentioned tenants leaving suddenly. One review, posted a year ago, said a woman in 3B had vanished without notice. Dakota had rolled her eyes then. People disappeared from apartment complexes all the time. That wasn't haunting, that was adulthood. Still, a strange number of reviews had mentioned the laundry room, mostly as jokes. The dryer eats socks, lost 2 shirts in 1 month. If your stuff goes missing, don't bother asking management. Every building had its folklore. Laundry machines ate things. It was practically a rule of physics. Thump, thump, thump. The fluorescent light flickered once. Dakota looked up, waiting. It steadied. "Please don't start," she muttered. The dryer's rhythm continued, heavy and even. She reached for the next item, a white pillowcase, then a pair of scrub pants, but something in the sound had changed. It was subtle enough to feel imagined. The steady thump had slowed. She turned. The dryer drum spun lazily. White fabric rolled past the glass. A sleeve, a towel corner, a blur of cotton. Then a flick of red. Dakota stilled. The drum turned again. There it was, a small red shape caught among the whites, no bigger than her hand. A sock. She stared, her mind taking a strange beat to process it. Everything she'd loaded had been pale. White towels, gray scrubs, cream sheets. Nothing red. The dryer turned again. The sock disappeared into the pile, then came back, pressed briefly against the glass from the inside as if something had pushed it there. Dakota straightened slowly. The light above her flickered again, dimming long enough for the room to lose its edges. When it brightened, she was already moving. She crouched in front of the dryer, one hand on the warm metal rim. Inside, the clothes rolled in slow circles. White, gray, cream. And then the red sock surfaced again, bright and raw against the pale fabric. It was twisted in on itself so tightly that for one impossible second, it looked less like cotton and more like a clenched expression. A face. Dakota blinked hard. The drum turned. The sock vanished again. "That's not funny," she said softly. The room answered with silence. Then the fluorescent bulb buzzed louder. The light pulsed once, twice. And from somewhere inside the turning dark of the dryer, a voice whispered her name. Dakota froze. Not loud, not sharp. A breath more than a sound, close enough that it didn't feel like hearing. It felt like something brushing the inside of her ear. Her fingers tightened against the dryer door. The drum kept turning. The whites kept tumbling. And deep behind the glass, something shifted against the fabric from the other side. Dakota didn't move. The whisper lingered in the space just behind her ear, so close it felt like breath. Her name. Soft, careful, almost familiar. The dryer continued its slow rotation, the sound no longer steady. Each turn dragged slightly, as if something inside had grown heavier. Thump. 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 Dakota swallowed. "Hello?" she called, her voice smaller than she intended. No answer. The fluorescent lights above her flickered again, this time dipping low enough that the room seemed to fold inward on itself before snapping back into harsh clarity. The white walls pressed close, then retreated. Her pulse thudded in her throat. "You're tired," she told herself. "Overtired, hearing things. It happens." She forced a breath in, out. The dryer turned. The red sock surfaced again. It pressed against the glass from the inside, twisted tight at the center like something clenched. Dakota leaned closer before she could stop herself. The fabric shifted, not with the tumble, but against it. Her breath hitched. "That's not," she started, then cut herself off. The sock slipped away again, swallowed by the slow churn of white. Behind it, deeper in the drum, something moved. Not cloth, not quite. A darker shape, just out of focus, stretching and pulling between folds of fabric like it didn't belong to the same space. Dakota's fingers tightened on the handle. The whisper came again. Closer. Clearer. "Dakota." Her stomach dropped. This time it didn't feel like imagination. It felt directed, like something inside the machine knew exactly where she was. She jerked back a step, heart hammering now, her gaze darting around the room. Empty. Still. The door behind her remained slightly ajar, the hallway beyond dim and quiet. No one there. No one who could have said her name. The dryer slowed further. Thump. Thump. It didn't stop. It dragged, the drum rotating with visible effort like it was working against resistance. Dakota turned back slowly. The glass reflected the harsh fluorescent light, and for a second, something else layered faintly over it. A shape, standing behind her. Her breath caught, she spun. Nothing. The room was exactly as it had been, white, empty, too bright. "Don't do this," she thought. "Don't let your brain run." She turned back to the dryer. The reflection was gone, but the red sock had returned. Caught higher now, closer to the top of the drum, where the light hit it directly. It looked wrong. The fabric had twisted in on itself more tightly, the center puckered and pulled into a shape that suggested features without forming them. A hollow where an eye might be, a fold like the edge of a mouth. Dakota stared. The dryer groaned, a low mechanical strain that didn't match the small load inside. The lights flickered again. Longer this time. When they steadied, the sock had shifted. Closer, pressed flat against the glass. For one impossible second, it looked like something behind it was pushing it forward. Dakota's hand moved without her permission. She grabbed the handle and yanked the door open. Heat rolled out immediately, not the dry, neutral warmth of freshly tumbled laundry. This was thicker, damp, alive. She recoiled, instinctively turning her face away as the smell hit her, detergent overwhelmed by something heavier underneath. Dust, burnt fabric, and something faintly sweet. Lavender. Dakota blinked. The scent shouldn't have been there, not in this load, not in this room. It lingered anyway, threading through the heat like a memory she couldn't quite place. The drum slowed to a stop. Silence rushed in. For a moment, nothing moved. Dakota leaned forward cautiously, peering into the open mouth of the dryer. White fabric lay in loose, uneven piles. Still. Except the red sock. It twitched, a small, tight motion, not from settling, from within. Dakota sucked in a sharp breath and reached in before she could think better of it, grabbing a handful of clothes and pulling them aside. The deeper she moved, the hotter it became. The metal brushed her wrist, too warm to touch for long. "Okay," she muttered under her breath, her voice shaking now. "Okay, that's enough." Her fingers brushed the back panel. She froze. The surface wasn't smooth. It wasn't solid. It gave slightly beneath her touch. Soft. Dakota's stomach dropped. She pressed again. The metal dipped inward, not denting, yielding, like something thin stretched too tight over an opening. A faint red glow pulsed through it, slow, steady, in time with the dragging rhythm the dryer had made before it stopped. Behind her, the fluorescent light buzzed louder, then flickered. Dakota didn't turn, her attention locked on the back of the drum. The glow intensified, bleeding through the seams of the panel in thin, branching lines. The lavender scent thickened, and underneath it, a sound. Low, wet, rhythmic. Not quite a voice, not quite mechanical. Something between. Dakota's hand trembled where it pressed against the surface. She should stop. She knew she should. Close the door, walk out, forget it, call maintenance in the morning. Normal solutions for normal problems. But this wasn't normal. And some part of her, deep, stubborn, wired to respond to crisis, leaned in instead of away. "Hello?" she whispered again, softer this time. The panel pulsed beneath her hand, the red light flared, and something on the other side shifted toward her. Dakota inhaled sharply, then pushed. The back of the dryer didn't break, it opened. Not with a metallic snap or a mechanical hinge, it unfolded, slowly, silently, peeling back in soft, stretching layers like something being pulled apart that had never been meant to open. The red light flooded out, swallowing the white room whole. Dakota stumbled back a step, her vision washing crimson as the glow filled every corner, every surface, every inch of space. The walls, for a split second, didn't look like walls at all. They rippled as if something vast and hidden pressed just beneath them, shifting, breathing. Dakota's heart slammed against her ribs. Behind the widening opening, the dryer drum was gone. In its place, an endless depth of red. Moving. Alive. And far within it, shapes. Tall, thin, wrong. One of them turned. Even at that distance, Dakota felt it lock onto her, The lavender scent surged. The light flickered violently overhead, and in the warped reflection of the dryer door, just before everything went dark, Dakota saw her, standing directly behind her. Head tilted, face almost blank. Dakota didn't breathe. She couldn't. The thing behind her stood too close. So close she could feel it as a distortion in the air that bent the space around her. The red light pulsed from the open dryer, thick and suffocating, swallowing the clean white of the room inch by inch. The fluorescent bulb above her flickered wildly. On, off, on. And in each stuttering flash, the reflection in the dryer door sharpened. Still, watching. Her head tilted slightly to one side, as if trying to understand what Dakota was. Or remember. "Don't," Dakota whispered. She didn't know if she meant don't move, or don't come closer, or don't be real. The air shifted. The lavender scent deepened, thicker now, almost cloying, pressing into her lungs with every shallow breath. Dakota's pulse roared in her ears, slowly, so slowly. She turned. The room was empty. White walls, bright light, open dryer. Nothing was behind her. Her breath broke free in a shaky rush. "Okay," she murmured, her voice trembling. "Okay, okay." But even as she said it, she knew something was wrong. The silence had weight now, a density that hadn't been there before, and the light wasn't right. It was still bright, still harsh, but it didn't reach as far. The corners of the room looked deeper, stretched, as if they went somewhere they hadn't gone a moment ago. Dakota turned back to the dryer. The opening had grown wider. It no longer looked like the back of a machine. It looked like a doorway. No, not even that. A wound. The edges were pulled back, soft and uneven, as if something had peeled itself open to let her see inside. The red glow moved in slow, rolling currents like heat waves rising from something far below, and within it, shapes appeared more clearly, tall, thin, some standing, some hanging. Dakota's stomach lurched. She took a step back. "I'm not doing this," she said under her breath, shaking her head hard. "Nope. No. I'm done. The dryer lurched. The entire machine shuddered violently, the metal frame rattling against the tiled floor. Dakota flinched. The red light flared and the sound came back. Not the steady thump from before, but something heavier, wetter. A dragging, rotating churn that felt too large for the space. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Soft, delayed, not matching her own movement. She froze. Slowly, she turned again. This time, she wasn't alone. The woman stood at the edge of the room, no longer in reflection, no longer distant. She was there, too thin. Her body stretched subtly in places that didn't align right. Her skin looked wrong, not decayed, just too dry, papery. It was pulled tight in some places and sagging in others, as if something had tried to preserve her and failed halfway through. And her face. Dakota's mind refused it. Features were suggested but not formed, eyes that were only shallow depressions, a mouth that hadn't quite decided how to exist. Blank. almost blank. The lavender smell surged so suddenly Dakota staggered, something twisted low in her memory. Familiar, too familiar.
"Stay,"
the woman whispered. The word came out stretched and layered, as if more than one voice tried to speak through the same shape at once. Dakota's back hit the folding table. "No," she said immediately, panic rising. "No, I'm not. Whatever this is, I'm not." The woman moved, not a step, not a shift. She simply was closer. Dakota choked on a breath. The dryer roared. The red light surged violently outward, washing over the room in a wave of heat so intense it stole the air from Dakota's lungs. The walls moved, the white paint rippled and peeled in thin, translucent layers, revealing something darker beneath. Something veined. Something alive. Dakota screamed. The floor shifted like gravity itself had slipped. She stumbled forward toward the open dryer. "No!" Hands shot out from inside. Too many. Thin. Dry. Reaching. Dakota tried to pull back, but something caught her wrist. The woman was right in front of her now, close enough to smell the lavender, thick and suffocating. Her grip was wrong. Too light, yet too tight, like paper wrapped around bone.
"Don't let it,"
the woman whispered. Dakota yanked against her.
"Let go," she gasped. "Let go of me."
The pull from the dryer intensified, violent, relentless, like something massive had hooked into her center and was reeling her in. Her sneakers scraped uselessly against the tile. Her free hand clawed at the edge of the machine and slipped. Heat burned against her skin. The woman's grip tightened. For one wild, desperate second, Dakota thought, "She's pulling me in. She's helping it."
"No."
Dakota twisted, wrenching her arm with everything she had. The woman's grip faltered just enough for Dakota to tear free, but the force behind her was too strong. Her balance snapped, her body pitched forward. The red light swallowed everything, heat, sound, pressure. Hands brushed against her from every direction, and then nothing beneath her feet. Dakota fell, not down, but into the red, the heat, and the endless shifting dark that breathed like something alive. The last thing she heard before the world closed around her was the woman's voice. Not close, not behind, but everywhere.
"Don't let it finish."
And then the door snapped shut. Dakota hit the ground, and it gave. Not solid, not hard. She sank into it slightly, the surface shifting beneath her weight with a soft, muffled collapse. Her breath tore back into her lungs in a sharp gasp. Air. No, not air. Something thicker. It dragged against her throat when she inhaled, clinging and coating like breathing through something that didn't want to be breathed. Dakota coughed violently, rolling onto her side. The ground moved with her, a soft, sliding shift that followed her motion a beat too late. Her fingers dug into it instinctively and stilled. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't fabric. It was lint, packed together in dense, warm layers. Gray, soft. Wrong. Dakota jerked her hands back, heart hammering, her skin crawling as the fibers clung stubbornly to her fingers. Okay, okay, okay. Her voice came out thin and strained, too loud in a place that didn't feel like it should carry sound at all. She forced herself to breathe slower, even as each inhale scraped. Focus. You're fine. You're... Her thoughts snagged. No, not fine. Not even close. Dakota pushed herself upright. The ground shifted again, the lint compressing and sliding under her weight like unstable sand. She steadied herself, legs trembling, and lifted her gaze, and froze. There was no room, no walls, no ceiling, no dryer. The world stretched outward in every direction, uneven and sloping. A landscape of soft, rolling mounds and collapsed shapes barely visible beneath layers of gray fiber. Above them was a slow, rotating red glow, not a light, but a presence. It turned in vast, silent arcs, casting everything below into shifting shades of crimson and shadow. Dakota's chest tightened.
No,
She whispered. The word vanished almost as soon as she said it, swallowed by the thick, muffled air. Something moved in the distance. Her head snapped toward it. At first, it looked like fabric, a pale shape caught in the uneven terrain, draped awkwardly over one of the lint mounds. Then it shifted. Slow. Delayed. Like it had forgotten how movement worked. Dakota's stomach dropped. She took a step back. The ground gave again, sliding slightly under her foot. The shape moved again, unfolding, rising. It wasn't fabric. It was a person, or what had once been one. They stood slowly, unsteady, their limbs too thin and too light, as if the structure inside them had been hollowed out. Their skin looked like paper stretched over nothing, too tight in some places, too loose in others. And their face, it didn't hold. Features pressed into it like something trying to remember how to be human and failing. Dakota stumbled back again, her breath coming faster now.
hey,
She called before she could stop herself.
hey, are you?
The figure turned. Not fully, just enough. And even from that distance, Dakota felt it. That same wrong recognition, that pull in the back of her mind. Familiar. No, that wasn't possible. The figure opened its mouth. The sound that came out wasn't a voice, not quite. It was dry and thin, like something trying to speak through a throat that no longer had moisture to shape the words.
Don't.
The word dragged, fractured. Dakota's pulse spiked.
Don't what?
The figure swayed, its head tilted slightly. The red light above shifted, and the world moved, not the figure, not the air, but the world itself. The ground rolled beneath Dakota's feet in a slow, unnatural wave. She staggered, arms flinging out to balance as the lint shifted and slid. The distant figure lurched with it, its body bending at angles that didn't match the movement. Dakota gasped.
What is happening?
The sound came then. Low, deep, familiar. Thump. Her breath caught. No. Not here. Not. Thump. The entire world shifted again, the ground rolling beneath her in a slow, dragging rotation. Thump. Dakota's heart stuttered. The dryer, The realization hit all at once, cold and sharp. She wasn't just in something, she was inside it. The world tilted again, more violently this time. Dakota lost her footing and dropped to one knee, her hands sinking into the lint as it shifted beneath her.
No, no.
The distant figure moved again, closer now. Not walking or running, just there, the space between them shortened in uneven jumps. Dakota's chest tightened. Her gaze darted around wildly. The landscape stretched in every direction, too open, too unstable. But as she looked harder, shapes began to emerge beneath the gray. Structures, familiar ones. A wall, no, a hallway, partially collapsed and buried under layers of lint and dust. A door frame tilted at an angle, a stretch of floor she recognized, or thought she did. Her stomach dropped. The building, or something that used to be the building, distorted, stretched, remembered wrong. The red light above pulsed again. Thump. The ground rolled harder this time, dragging everything with it. Dakota scrambled upright, panic sharpening into something desperate. She couldn't stay still. A scent hit her, sudden, overwhelming. Lavender. Dakota froze. Her breath caught halfway in. The figure in front of her stilled completely. The red light shifted, and for a fraction of a second, the distortion in its face eased. Just enough, just long enough. Dakota saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough to send a sharp, cold spike through her chest. Recognition. Immediate, violent, wrong. Her head throbbed.
No,
She whispered, shaking her head hard.
no, that's not.
The world lurched. Hard. The ground gave way beneath her feet entirely this time, the lint collapsing inward as if something massive had shifted below it. Dakota screamed, scrambling backward, and the sound came again. Louder now, closer. Thump. The cycle had begun. The air changed first. Dakota felt it before she understood it. A slow, creeping pressure that settled over her skin like a second layer. It was too warm, too close, as if the space itself had leaned in. She inhaled and winced. The air burned. Not sharp or immediate, but wrong. It was dry, dragging against her throat like something that had been stripped of everything it needed to move cleanly. Dakota coughed, her body folding forward as the lint beneath her shifted again, making her balance uncertain.
Okay,
She rasped.
okay. Move. Just move.
Standing still felt dangerous. That much was suddenly, instinctively clear. She pushed herself upright and started forward, each step sinking slightly before catching. The red glow above pulsed again, heavier now. Thump. The sound didn't just echo. It traveled through her, a vibration that settled deep in her bones. The heat intensified, gradual and relentless. Beads of sweat prickled along her spine and then vanished almost as quickly as they formed, pulled away by the dry air before they could cool her. Her lips felt tight. She ran her tongue over them and tasted dust. Dakota swallowed hard, her gaze darting around. The landscape shifted subtly with each pulse, lint dunes collapsing and reforming in slow, dragging waves. Shapes moved beneath the surface, indistinct, buried things shifting with the rhythm. Don't look at them. The thought came fast and sharp. Dakota obeyed. She kept her eyes forward, focusing on the broken stretch of hallway ahead. Its walls were warped and half sunken, and the doorway at the end tilted just enough to suggest it might still be passable. It was something she could follow, something that felt like direction. The scent hit her again. Lavender. Stronger now, it clung to the air, threading through the dry heat in a way that didn't belong. Dakota slowed despite herself. Her chest tightened.
I know that,
she whispered. The scent pulled at something deep in her memory, something she didn't want to touch. Not here, not now. She shook her head hard and forced herself forward. The hallway grew clearer as she approached, its edges sharpening just enough to resemble something real. The walls were the same sterile white as the laundry room, but the surface rippled as if the paint had been laid over something that still moved beneath it. Dakota stepped inside. The air grew hotter and the space narrower. Her shoulders brushed the walls, and she jerked back immediately. The texture wasn't solid. It shifted under her touch. Nope, she muttered, pulling her arms in close. No, thank you. Thump. The hallway lurched. Dakota staggered, catching herself against the wall. It dipped under her palm, too warm. She yanked her hand back with a sharp gasp. Her skin tingled where she'd touched it, the sensation lingering like heat pressed too long against flesh. Move, she whispered.
Just keep moving.
The hallway stretched longer than it should have, the far end pulling away as she approached. Her breath grew shallow. Each inhale hurt more now, her throat tightening. Dakota glanced down at her hand. It trembled. The skin looked the same, but when she flexed her fingers, they didn't move easily. A stiffness lingered at the joints, subtle but wrong.
No,
she breathed, shaking her hand hard.
No, that's not.
A sharp sound cut through the hallway behind her. Dakota froze. Slowly, so slowly, she turned. The woman stood at the far end of the hall, closer than before. Her head tilted at that same unnatural angle, and her body seemed thinner, the papery texture of her skin more pronounced.
Stop,
Dakota said, backing up.
Just stay right there.
The woman didn't move, but the distance between them changed anyway. A flicker, a skip, and she was closer.
Stay,
the woman whispered. The word was dragged, split, and layered.
No.
Dakota snapped, panic flaring.
No, I'm not staying.
The woman's arm lifted, reaching. Dakota's back hit the warped wall, which gave with a soft, sinking shift. The lavender scent surged, and something else moved. Not the woman. Something bigger. Above. Behind. Dakota's gaze snapped upward. A shadow, massive and shapeless, bled across the ceiling in long, dragging forms. It didn't have a fixed outline. It stretched and collapsed like something too large to exist. For a fraction of a second, it formed a suggestion of limbs, too long, too sharp, clawed.
Okay, nope, no.
The woman moved again, closer, faster. Her hand shot out and grabbed Dakota's wrist. Dakota screamed. The grip was wrong, too light yet too tight, like dry paper wrapped around bone.
Let go,
She cried, yanking hard. The woman didn't release her. Her head tilted further and her voice broke apart.
Don't go that way.
The shadow dropped lower, darkening the hallway as it spread. Dakota twisted, trying to pull free.
Let go. You're going to get me killed.
The woman's grip faltered slightly. Her head shifted, and for one impossible second, the distortion in her face thinned. It wasn't enough to be clear, but it was enough for something in Dakota's chest to twist violently in recognition. The lavender hit her again, overwhelming. Dakota choked.
I know you.
The shadow surged. The hallway warped violently, walls bending inward as the heat spiked. The woman yanked Dakota hard. Not forward, but sideways out of the hallway. Dakota stumbled, dragged with her as the space behind them collapsed with a suffocating folding sound. The shadow slammed down where she had been standing, claws tearing through lint and warped structure like paper. Dakota screamed. The woman released her suddenly. Dakota hit the ground hard, scrambling backward as the shadow recoiled and spread wider, searching. Dakota's gaze snapped to the woman who stood a few feet away, still watching. Her head tilted again, and this time, the word came clearer.
Run.
Dakota didn't hesitate. She turned and ran. Dakota ran. The ground shifted beneath every step, the lint collapsing and dragging at her feet as if it wanted to hold her there. Her lungs burned, each breath came thinner than the last, scraping through her chest like air that had forgotten how to exist. Behind her, something moved. Not the woman. Something larger, faster. The sound wasn't footsteps. It was absence. It was space collapsing too quickly, folding in on itself as something forced its way through. Dakota didn't look back. She knew if she did, she wouldn't be able to keep moving. Thump, thump, thump. The world tilted violently. Dakota stumbled, her fingers sinking into the lint. And then something underneath gave way. It wasn't soft or empty. It was structured. A shape beneath her caved inward with a brittle, hollow sound. Dakota scrambled backward and saw it. A body, or what remained of one, folded in on itself beneath the lint. Its skin was pulled thin and pale like paper left too long in heat. Its face was pressed inward, features barely holding shape, eyes shallow, mouth slightly open. Empty. Dakota gagged, scrambling away.
No.
Thump. The world jerked again, the red glow flared, and a space opened ahead. Dakota staggered to her feet and ran toward it, her thoughts fragmenting. The lavender scent flooded in again, so strong it burned. It pulled something loose in her mind. A white room, too bright, a monitor beeping. You need to rest. I'm fine, I've got it. The memory snapped. gone.
No, focus.
The ground dropped suddenly beneath her feet. Dakota cried out, stumbling forward, and the world opened. The lint fell away, the red glow shifted, and for a moment, everything aligned. Dakota froze. The space around her wasn't endless anymore. It was structured. Walls, doors, a long corridor stretching out in both directions. White, sterile, too clean.
No.
She whispered. The hospital. It wasn't exactly right, but it was close enough to make her chest seize. Veins of red light threaded through the walls like something alive was buried beneath the paint. The floor tilted on an uneven axis. A sound echoed down the hall. Heavy, measured, too steady. Dakota turned slowly. At the far end, a mass of shadow pulled itself together to resemble something human, then tore itself apart again. Too tall, too long, its limbs dragged, splintering and reforming with each step. Another memory broke loose. A hospital room, a patient, a woman pale and still with red socks against white sheets.
I didn't.
Dakota whispered, shaking her head.
I didn't.
The shadow moved faster. Dakota stumbled backward.
No, stay back.
The corridor warped, walls bending inward as the heat surged. The shadow stretched, claws forming. Dakota turned and ran. Doors appeared and disappeared along the walls, their frames warping as she passed. Her lungs screamed. Thump, thump, thump. The rhythm built, faster and closer. Dakota's legs buckled, but she caught herself. She had to keep moving. The lavender hit her again, not just a scent, but a memory. The boyfriend, standing too close, watching, too calm, something wrong in his eyes.
No,
She whispered.
no, I remember. You were...
The shadow lunged. Dakota screamed, throwing herself forward, and the world stopped. Silence, complete, absolute. The air stilled, the heat paused, the red glow halted mid-pulse. There, at the far end of the corridor, was a door. It was open just slightly, showing a thin slice of something beyond. Not red, not warped. Normal, real. Dakota ran. The door flickered, the opening narrowing. Behind her, the shadow roared back into motion. The world snapped alive again, violent and pulling. Dakota pushed harder, her vision tunneling. Almost there. Something grabbed her ankle. Dakota crashed forward onto her hands. She twisted. It was the woman. Her grip was tight and desperate, her face now less blank, more formed. Recognition slammed into Dakota.
You.
She gasped.
You're... Close the door.
The woman whispered. Behind them, the shadow surged. Dakota wrenched her leg, but the woman didn't let go.
Close it.
The door flickered, shrinking. The shadow was nearly on them. Dakota screamed and kicked free. She lunged, hands slamming against the door, and threw herself through. Cold tile, air, real air. Dakota gasped, hitting the floor hard. Silence. The harsh fluorescent light steadied above her. The white walls returned, still, clean, unmoving. The dryer sat behind her, closed and quiet. Dakota lay there shaking. Alive. She was alive. Thump. The dryer turned on. Dakota's blood ran cold. In the reflection of the metal door, just for a second, she saw them both. Watching. Dakota didn't move. For a long time, she just lay there flat against the cold tile, cheek pressed to the floor, her breath dragging in uneven pulls as her body tried to remember what normal felt like. Air. Real air. It filled her lungs cleanly. No weight, no burn, no resistance. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something in her chest had been scraped hollow, like the breath had somewhere new to go now, somewhere it hadn't before. Her fingers twitched against the tile. She watched them, waiting. They moved slower than she expected, stiffer, but they moved. Dakota swallowed hard and pushed herself up onto her elbows. The room didn't shift. It didn't tilt or breathe. It stayed exactly as it was. Bright, white, and still. Too still. Her gaze drifted to the dryer. It sat where it had been, closed, silent, unremarkable. It was as if it had never opened at all. Her stomach turned. Dakota forced herself to sit up fully, her movements careful and deliberate, as if she were afraid something might notice if she moved too fast. "I'm out," she whispered. The words felt fragile. "I'm out." She waited for something to answer, for the light to flicker or the walls to ripple. Slowly, Dakota inhaled. The air carried only detergent and the faint metallic warmth of the machines. No lavender, nothing sweet, nothing wrong. Her shoulders sagged. "Okay," she whispered again, louder. "Okay." She pushed herself to her feet. Her legs trembled, but they held. Normal. Everything was normal. Dakota turned toward the folding table where her laundry sat exactly where she had left it. Half folded, undisturbed, a sleeve draped over the edge like time had simply paused. She reached out and brushed the fabric. Soft, cool, real. Thump. Dakota froze. The sound came from behind her, low, deep, familiar. Slowly, she turned. The dryer door remained closed. The machine sat still, silence pressed in. "No," she whispered. She took a step back, her gaze flicking toward the door leading to the hallway. It was open. Safe. She could leave right now. Just walk out, go upstairs, pack a bag, and never come back. But her eyes dragged back to the dryer. Something pulled at her. Not physically, but a quiet, persistent thread. Dakota swallowed. "Don't," she whispered to herself. "Don't just go." Her feet moved anyway until she stood in front of the machine once more. Her reflection stared back from the metal surface. Pale, shaken, alive. She reached for the handle, paused, and pulled. Inside, nothing, just the empty drum. Dakota let out a shaky breath.
Okay, that's...
Something brushed her wrist. Dakota flinched violently, jerking her hand back. Her skin tingled. Slowly, she looked down. A thin strand clung to her fingers. Not lint, not thread. Something finer, darker. Dakota's chest tightened as she brought it closer. The strand curled slightly. A hair, it felt warm. The air shifted. She inhaled, and this time she smelled it. Lavender, faint but unmistakable. Dakota's eyes snapped to the dryer, but the drum remained empty. Behind her, something moved. A shift of shadow along the wall. She turned. Nothing. Just the doorway and the empty hall.
I'm done,
she said, her voice shaking.
I'm leaving.
The overhead light flickered once, twice. The room dimmed, and in that thin slice of shadow, she saw it. A shape in the doorway. Tall, still, watching. Dakota didn't breathe. The light steadied, and the doorway was empty again. Her chest rose and fell in sharp, uneven bursts.
No,
she whispered.
I'm out.
She backed toward the hall, her gaze locked on the empty space. The lavender scent lingered, and underneath it, a memory finally settled into place. The hospital room, the woman, the red socks. The boyfriend, standing too close. Watching, waiting.
I remember,
she whispered.
I didn't kill you.
Silence answered, then softly from somewhere behind her. Thump. Dakota's eyes squeezed shut. When she opened them, the hallway lights flickered. The scent deepened. For one impossible moment, she wasn't sure if she had ever left at all. I made it out, she repeated, but the words didn't feel true with the lavender still clinging to the air. She didn't stop moving until she reached the stairs, not looking back even when the scent followed her, not even when, behind her, the dryer began to turn. Dakota didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of her bed, the lamp on, eyes fixed on the doorway. Every shadow felt too deep. The hospital, the patient, the boyfriend. The thoughts moved in circles.
I didn't kill her,
she whispered again.
I didn't.
Something brushed the air, soft and close. The lavender scent bloomed suddenly stronger than before. Dakota froze and lifted her gaze toward the corner of the room where the shadows pooled. For a moment, she thought she saw two shapes. One still, watching. The other, moving.
I know what happened now,
Dakota whispered, her voice trembling.
I know I didn't kill her.
The air pressed in, the scent lingered. And somewhere, just beyond what she could see, something shifted. Waiting. Dakota's breath was shallow as she spoke into the quiet.
So why does it still feel like something followed me out?
I keep the door open now. I don't close it anymore. Because the one night I did, I woke up to the smell of lavender and the sound of something breathing from inside my new dryer. I don't use it anymore. I don't even go near it. But sometimes, late at night, I hear it start on its own. Slow, steady, like it's waiting for me to come back.